Now to welcome our third speaker. Let me share my. So we have here our third speaker, Teaching with Technology, Path and Level Presentation Mastery, Level 5.2. Project name, Moderate a Panel Discussion. The purpose of his speech is to apply your skills as a public speaker and a leader to facilitate a panel discussion. His speech title, Teaching with Technology. Speech length, 20 to 40 minutes. Evaluator, Doni Oliveras DTM. Let's all welcome speaker number 3, Glenny E. Lapping. A round of applause.
Right. A pleasant evening to everyone. Can you hear me, Toastmaster of the evening?
Yes, you are audible, TM Glenny.
All right, there you go. Okay. Are you an educator who is striving to find new ways to engage your students? As the country is facing educational crisis, the Department of Education is doing all possible means to bridge the learning gap of our learners. And one of the solutions they have seen is the use of technology in education, or the so-called teaching with technology. The world is changing faster than ever. Technology is an accelerator, and we have seen its impact and benefits during pandemic. But alone, it does not enable change. We believe in the power of leaders and educators, and the impact they can have when they come together to learn and grow in a supportive community. Tonight, we hear vital information, or we will digest some vital information and inspiring stories of success in implementing teaching with technology in their classrooms, schools, divisions, or regions, and even country that brought about the huge impact in the lives of teachers and learners. Our experts have adopted 21st century teaching and learning, take risks, and strive to improve their pedagogy to integrate technology tools that improve student outcomes. They model the failure is an opportunity to reflect and learn, as well as resiliency. They are seen as a leader in their school and school system, and provide coaching or mentoring to other teachers and support their growth. They partner with principals and school leaders in whole school or system transformation. They are comfortable presenting in front of other educators or leaders in sharing their stories and or stories of growth and learning. Our panelists this evening are, number 1, global educator visionaries who are using technology to pave the way for their peers for better learning and student outcomes. Number 2, build educator capacity for using technology to improve student learning in their school, region, and country. Number 3, they model the effective use of technologies into the teaching and learning environment. Number 4, they are advocates at conferences, events, and trainings for how technology can improve learning. And number 5, they mentor the other experts or teachers in our country. And number 6, they collaborate with other experts in our country and across the globe. And lastly, they also advocates, or as an educator who advocates teaching with technology. I have observed the life-changing impact of technology to my learners who are digital natives as well. So each of our panelists are champions of teaching with technology in their subject areas, which can help us integrate or help us show how to successfully integrate technology in our teaching practices. First, we have Dr. Donald Dongog. He was a math teacher in the division of Lapu-Lapu City, integrating Robo for Ed or robotics for education in his classroom, and represented the Philippines in several World Robot Olympiads, such as in Hungary, India, Russia, and Malaysia, to name a few. He was the proponent of the national award-winning innovation during pandemic called the offline module application, which helped thousands of teachers and learners to access the self-learning module in their mobile devices even without internet connection. And currently, he's working hard for his world-class innovation called Box for Ed. His project this is his project in his study in Humber College, Ontario, Canada, by which he received a recognition as student with high honors in their graduation yesterday. He is now happily working in Canada as an IT in a school in Canada together with his family. Sir Donald Dongo, you're welcome here in our Toastmasters meeting as one of our panelists. Let's give a warm welcome, a virtual applause to Sir Dr. Donald Dongo. All right, so up next, second, we have Dr. Marivy Lim. Let me check if Dr. Marivy Lim is here. All right, so we have Dr. Donald Dongog. Let me check first if Dr. Marivy Lim is here. All right, so I think, yes, she is still driving, going to school, as it is still morning also in US. Let me introduce her first. She was the master teacher in English in General Santos City Integrated School. There you go. A Microsoft Innovative Educator expert who represented the Philippines in Microsoft Global Educator Exchange in Singapore. She's a Fulbright scholar, an author and coach of several award-winning school publications and became a national school paper awardee and a Metrobank outstanding teacher. Right now, she is happily working in America together with her daughters and beloved husband, and continue to garner global recognitions for her world-class projects with her learners, and continue to reach out the country, our Filipino learners, for global projects and collaboration with other teachers in the Philippines. And of course, let's give a big hand, a round of applause, a virtual applause to Dr. Marivy Lim Hardy. Lastly, the third panelist, we have Dr. Irene Lopez. She was the science teacher of Cebu Science High School, a coach of national awardee, a national winner of investigatory projects, an author of energy education, learning materials in collaboration with One Miracle Foundation and the Department of Education, a global Filipino teacher, a mega Cebu teacher, innovative and outstanding teacher, and a science teacher in America, and currently working in Japan as a science teacher, who is also working in an organization of fellow global educators whose goal is to give back to our country, Philippines. All right, so without further ado, let's give a virtual clap first to Dr. Irene Lopez. I know we're so excited for our discussion, our topic for this evening. So let's hear from our experts from their field of specialization or learning areas. Let's hear first from our math expert, then followed by our, Dr. Donald Dongog, then followed by Dr. Marivy Lim for English, and for science, let's have Dr. Irene Lopez. Dr. Donald. All right, so let's have this first question. Describe how you leverage educational technology tools to increase accessibility for all learners in your classroom. What tools do you use and how do they support different learning needs? Again, describe how you leverage edtech tools to increase, or technology, how you leverage technology to increase accessibility for all learners in your classroom. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question, Sir Glenny Lapping. And that is a very timely question for every one of us here who goes into teaching with technology. When I was teaching in mathematics, I wanted my students to really find time and make it a way that they can apply mathematics in their own projects. So that time I used robotics for education. We played with Lego Mindstorms education robotics kits for me to teach about friction, gravity, inertia, impulse and momentum, acceleration and force, mass and acceleration. I try to teach them physics concepts, mathematics integration, and robotics as well, and programming. Since I'm also their teacher in computer, I merged the two subjects, doing mathematical concepts, physics, and computer programming through robotics. So what I did is that when I come inside the classroom, I would tell them to make a robotics project that would involve one, artificial intelligence, meaning they don't remote control the robot, but program it in such a way that they will follow a course of action. And like, for example, we did Rubik's Cube solver and even a robot that could play soccer by itself. And yes, we also joined robotics competition in the national and also in the international. So like to make technology be integrated in a classroom, number one, we want our students to learn personally. I give them something to think of, like their own project, and then they are the ones who would pursue the knowledge required for that project to be implemented. For me, education with technology must be pursued personally with the grit and dedication. All of the students would succeed because it is learning is personal and not is being required by the teacher. Um, they wouldn't know that they are learning these concepts, but they enjoy the search. And in that way, I think authentic education comes in with learning technology. So I hope that the technology
Wow.
would not be a substitute, but would be a tool to reach a meaningful idea. Thank you
Wow,
very much, sir.
that's wonderful, Dr. Donald Dongog, for sharing to us a world-class integration of technology. In the Filipino, we are not left or hindi tayo naiiwanan, pag-iiwanan. So, di wala ta na biyahe. And thank you so much, Dr. Donald Dongog, for that level of integration. Now, let's hear from Dr. Irene Lopez. Dr. Irene Lopez, describe how you leverage edtech tools or technology to increase accessibility for all learners in your classroom. And you can cite some tools that you use and how you support different learning needs. Dr. Irene?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Toastmaster Glenny. As of now, like first off, I would like to thank you for inviting me to be part of tonight's discussion and tonight's, sharing of ideas. And you know what? I just want to be able to connect it with what Sir Donald was already talking about. The grit of the teacher and trying to be able to learn how to be able to integrate technology in teaching. But you know what? For me, I don't want to be able to say what do I do in my own classroom? Because you know what? My main advocacy as of this time is to empower teachers. I think that's the best way to be able to say, how can we integrate technology? We have to make sure that teachers are comfortable in teaching with technology, right? Because If the teachers themselves are afraid to try out sites, to try out technology, the kids will feel it. The students will also get afraid. They will not also try. But if the teachers are empowered and saying like, oh, I'm comfortable with this one, I think I can make this work, then there will be a very good flow of the lesson. Integration of technology is just so seamless. And so that's what I do right now. I'm now teaching in Japan. I'm teaching science and math, but you know what? I am like, my advocacy is with teaching and helping out other teachers, especially in the Philippines, which is why I represent the SMED group, or the Science and Mathematics Educators for Development Global. We call ourselves global because now all my friends who are part of this organization are in different parts of the world. And we take what we have learned and then we teach. We try to reach out to different teachers, and it's just like just a text away. All they need to do is just give us a call if our if our schedule is fine. We give them the training. We try to ask them what their school needs are. And I know that most of the teachers belonging to Toastmasters for Educators know about this. There is a very strong move by the Department of Education to be able to empower teachers in terms of technology. We've got Microsoft training, Microsoft education. You have their Google education and all of these wonderful, tools that we can use in class. And there are a lot. All we need to do is to broaden our minds and then just try it out. But we will try to be able to make sure that as teachers, we try it out first. And then we try to see whether we are comfortable with it, whether even like the bandwidth that we have is capable of, using the certain site or technology. Because, you get afraid. You have planned a wonderful lesson, like you want to integrate something like, with technology. Boom, your internet connectivity doesn't work. And so
Right.
you get frustrated. But you know what? And that's a very good word that we have learned tonight. Don't give up. Take hold of that, be gritty, and then try it out again. And that's how I would say that, how we would be able to integrate technology seamlessly in our classrooms.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. One panelist mentioned about his experience during his teaching with students in the classroom. The other panelists also mentioned that it's very important also to upskill our teachers. And that's we have to, of course, to be gritty in our advocacy. And what I hear all of our panelists saying is that teaching with technology is for everybody, and it is very timely nowadays that we are now dealing with the digital natives. And of course, speaking about lessons, our panelists have mentioned about some lessons. This time, let's ask our dear panelists about series of lessons or a unit or a project you did with learners that incorporates edtech tools or technology for improved learning outcomes. So let's have first Dr. Donald Dongog. Again, tell us a series of lessons or a unit or a project you did with the learners that incorporates edtech tools for improved learning outcomes, and what 21st century skills were included in the learning, and explain in details how these skills were developed. So again, Dr. Donald.
Thank you very much, PM Glenny, for that wonderful question. Yes, what are the projects we made with my students? Number one, I really wanted my students to like make use of what they have. I believe that it is what you do with what you know that matters. We did a lot of projects, and one of the things that I could share with you is our Doon Po Sa Amin project in collaboration with SMART, which makes use of our DepEd computerization program, our laboratory. So we make use of our computer labs to number one research on what is unique in our place. We call it Doon Po Sa Amin. So here in our place, what are we proud of? Number two, I let my students create a website that would entice maybe probable um, guests or tourists to go to our place and would know the history and the story behind of it all. May it be the story of the Mactan Shrine, may it be the story of Lapu-Lapu as a fish, or a particular unique place that nobody visits, but would visit because of that story. How Lapu-Lapu or maybe the family of Lapu-Lapu and how they learn Arnis, for example, is one that caught the eye of a lot of tourists, and they visited us because of that. They were looking for the Grand Master, who were the history of the Lapu-Lapu's clan. And that is very special. For me, the research, um, the going into those places and really talk about the history of the country, knowing what is nice about here, and talking it out to others and sharing what you are proud of is something that is very essential for the students. And yes, the collaboration among team members, the critical thinking, and the way they mindstorm each other and really prove um, to us that how gritty they are in completing their project and how they devote their time and really following them to make an impact not only to the school but to the community and to the country is something that I could be proud of. Yes,
Wow.
we can learn with technology if we use them correctly and equip our students with the right tools and right opportunity. Back to you, TM Glenny.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's a nice lesson to follow. It's very duplicable. What about you, Dr. Irene Lopez? Tell us about a series of lessons or units or a project you did with learners that incorporates technology for improved learning outcomes. And with that, 21st century skills were included in the learning. And of course, they have developed the 21st century skills, which is very necessary in our uh, education nowadays.
I would recall when I was still teaching back at Cebu City National Science High School, I was the research teacher. So my students, they have to be able to submit their research paper. So you name the different productivity tools that they have to learn. Of course, like, from Microsoft Word, doing Excel, doing a PowerPoint presentation whenever they would present their their research work. I feel that that was a very important tool that they were able to really learn, because it was not only in class that they did it. Because of the kind or the quality of their research work, they were able to compete at division level, at regional level, at national level, and even at the international arena. Most of my students would be going for the Intel ISEF. We had students who would compete in Singapore, Malaysia, and even in Europe for different investigatory projects. If they did not know how to be able to manipulate technology in the sense of making their research work, it will not be at par with what is going to be expected in the global arena. The next stop is when I had an experience in teaching in the US. You can't help it. Everybody has their own device. It's provided by the school, by the district. And so as teachers, we have to make use of that. So all the learning that we would have, they have their own tablets, they have their own laptops. And so you have to make sure that you maximize the use of that technology or that tool. Now that I'm here in Japan, for them, it's never, the pandemic was never a reason that school should be closed or learning should not happen. During the pandemic, full online class. It's going to be like a regular schedule. And students know that, parents know that, teachers know that. And so
Right.
it was like very seamless. Like, we just needed to learn a certain, like if we would have our own type of LMS or learning system, I just needed to learn about it and then try to integrate in class. But everything was done online. Then when they had their policies were changed, that we had already full face-to-face classes or in-person classes, we did not stop and say, oh, okay, we're already in person. There's no need for us to be online. No, we did not. We still made use of what we have learned. And so now, when our students would feel like, oh, I'm not feeling fine, I feel like maybe I have a fever, something like that, automatic. They stay at home, then they still are part of the class because we have cameras, we take videos of our lessons, they join us online. Seamless.
Wow.
And
Wow.
everybody knows that, and everybody would be able to take note of that.
Wow. I'm so curious about it. Dr. Irene, about the setting, the scenario in your students there in Japan. So let me try to ask Dr. Donald about the scenario also in Canada right now. Dr. Donald, I know you have children studying there in Canada, as well as you did study there in Canada. Of course, you just finished yesterday your college degree, and I'm so curious about what is the setup of your uh, teaching with technology or learning with technology there in Canada, as you have mentioned your experiences here in the Philippines, as you have children or learners here in the Philippines. You have mentioned that you have this project with your kids, immersing them with culture plus the technology, and same as Dr. Irene mentioned about this technology and innovation competing in the world arena, and as well as here are students right now in Japan. So Dr. Donald, can you share something about the scenario there in Canada?
Yes, hi, Sir Glenny. I have one of our classrooms, and we are using just like what teacher Irene is saying. We are using HiFlex. This is a hybrid of teaching face-to-face in person and online students, where the online students can feel and be immersed with the same type of how they would feel when they are in the classroom. We don't want to let the students behind. With regards to the question of how my kids are doing here, they love it. They start at 9 a.m., finish at 3 p.m. with very little assignments, and the work balance between school, play, and family is of
Wow,
utmost importance. And
that's nice.
we've been developing a lot of projects, and one of the things that I can be proud of, and I think I have shared it already, is the box for education. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we
Yeah,
found
no,
out
Dr.
that
Donald. Yeah, Dr. Donald, tell us about I heard that you mentioned that box for Ed a while ago, and can you share to us the inspiration behind your box for Ed? I know you're going to share it anyway. Please share to us what triggers you developing or uh, crafting such innovation, and to whom you dedicate that innovation.
yes, that is a good question. We need to ask our why so that we would know where the direction that we would be working on. And my first why is that I have seen a lot of my friends in the Philippines who are teaching. They are printing modules and delivering it to all the places in the Philippines, 2,000 and 107 islands, depending on low tide and high tide. It's so much hard work, and I can feel it. I have ates and sisters living there in the Philippines who are teachers too, and I have you as my friends. I take you as my family. Seeing
Wow.
that kind of problem, wouldn't let me sleep until I developed this project. So first why is, why are you doing this? I I have a solution, and I think I am responsible for making it and sharing it to others. So we developed this box for education. The concept is to make a learning management system and to make internet inside your classroom without connecting to an internet service provider. So we want to emulate
Wow.
having your own internet connection in your own classroom. That's why we have created this box for education, which is a standalone server that all of your devices, maybe tablets for the deployed computerization program, your own mobile phone when you are in the community, just turn on the box without any peripherals. The router would also be included through Wi-Fi, and it's a very fast router, and it's having a long range. Whole community can share. um, we have already tested it and piloted it in one of the schools in Lapu-Lapu. Yes, the box was already there,
Wow.
and
That's great.
they tested it. 50 students can watch the video together,
At one time?
connecting at one time,
Wow.
connecting at that box. And I'm just so happy that that kind of project even had been noticed by my school, the Humber International Foundation, and we are
Wow.
into partnering with each other for how can we make more boxes to give it to the
Mm-hmm.
Philippines for free.
Wow.
I told them that they can adapt a community there. We could develop the boxes together, maybe partner with an NGO, how they could distribute it much more, and how we can expand it so that no teachers would be left behind. We are working
Wow.
po here at Canada that we would be giving one box per teacher,
Per
and there would
teacher.
be no
Wow.
classroom without internet, hopefully, when the time comes. So, yun po yung ginagawa natin dito. And with regards to my kids, they were so amazed because I am their teacher. I am
Uh-huh.
using the box. They are my students. Yes,
Ayun.
I am using the box po. So,
So
alam ko
in
po
other
yung
words, Dr.
feeling ng
Donald,
teacher.
in other words, Dr. Donald, the box is meant to individualize learning, or shall we call it self-regulating or self-pacing? Am I right?
Tama po,
Is
sir.
that what you
Tama
mean?
po, Sir Glenn. We want to
Yeah.
revolutionize
Mm-hmm.
classroom. We want it that when the student comes in, the teacher would just say, okay, you open our lesson for the day and learn it yourself. If you have question, you may come to me. In that
For
way,
example,
teacher,
for
yes,
example,
Sir
Dr.
Glenny.
Donald, I'm sorry to cut you, but for
Okay,
example, we
no problem.
can we upload videos like Itulay videos or DepEd TV videos in that box, and then you can watch that offline?
Yes, tama po. Yun po yung kagandahan ng box. So what is nice about this
Wow.
is it
So,
would be like a lot of math teachers maybe collaborating, put on all their videos there and package it so it would be used standardized with all of the teachers. Lahat po ng math teachers, same po yung ituturo nila. Kasi same po yung materials na nandoon na sa box. And that
wow.
is an amazing project that you could collaborate with. Yes, they can upload videos, upload dynamic H5P contents, let the students answer them, gather all those scores, and print the grade slips po or yung card ng bata from the box.
All right.
So,
So, Dr. Donald, I can sense some of our Itulay tutors here attending our meeting right now. Some, of course, the proponent of Itulay program. Later, we have a question and answer. Please hold yourself and have that great in asking our panelists later about these innovations they have come up with. While they're in outside the country, their hearts still remain in our dear Philippine country. And to think, my dear audience, think about this. Dr. Irene, who is now in Japan, she has this innovation or project that called SMED, Science and Mathematics for Education. They're thinking of giving back to a group of fellow educators, global educators, of giving back what they can give. Innovations, there's a lot of, I was able to attend the meetings. And thank you also, Dr. Donald, for this another innovation which can revolutionize our education system here in the Philippines. Thank you so much, guys. And with that, I would like to for you to ask. Thank you for your sharing your projects with us. And what I hear you all saying is that yes, with the project based learning, we can integrate technology or teaching with technology better. So we have to design the lesson and let our learners create a project like that culture-based project you had with your students here in Lapu-Lapu that they are going to, yes, introduce Lapu-Lapu city and their culture. And of course, Dr. Irene also, she started here in Cebu in the Science High School. Yes, thank you so much. And right now, please tell us more, Dr. Irene. Describe what artifacts or artifact, what am I saying about artifacts is that the result of student learning, how it demonstrated the desired learning objectives, and how technology were a critical part of the learning. Again, Dr. Irene, please describe the artifact or the result of the student learning and how it demonstrated the desired learning objectives and how technology were a critical part of the learning.
The greatest artifact, if there is one for all teachers, I believe, would be the success of our students, right? When we would see them be successful in life, like since they were still our students and we become their coaches, they win in competitions. We become so proud of them and we feel like we have supported them. And because of that, and because of their success, then we are happy and we feel good. And because we know that we have made an impact, we have made a certain, like, we have touched their lives. And hopefully, like, that's what we all think. It's because of our teaching. It's because of the methods that we have given to them. Sometimes it might not be like within the school year. It could be like right now, because I've been handling high school students. I would never know what they are like once they would reach university or even once they become young professionals. And so whenever I would hear and I would see my students, like, again, reaping success and being successful in their own path, in their own lives. And when they would send me a message and say, like, thank you, Miss Lopez, because of you, we have reached this point, I would say then that's already such a reward. And I would just like to insert, like, we've been talking about, like, Japan. I would just like to stress that it's culture-wise. It's the way that they are trained here. If you feel like they're such workaholics, it starts when they are students. They are they are very, very serious when it comes to education. So that is why they would, like, all schools, administrators and teachers would give their best, not only in terms of teaching strategies, but all types of technology or anything that could help the students so that they could become good students or they could better, because that's how it is there in their culture. And how would I say, like, is it so bad? Is it so bad in the Philippines? Like, is it better in Japan? No, because you know what? Our culture as Filipinos and our culture as, in the academe in the Philippines, we have such compassion. And if there is really that you were talking about, what is your biggest, what would be the biggest artifact that could really say that there's going to be, like, education or learning is happening? Take a look at Filipino teachers, the grit of Filipino teachers and the grit of the students as well. That is Tatak Pinoy anywhere you go.
Wow,
and
I love
you
the
would
word.
really
I
know
love that
because
word.
Filipinos, pumapayagpag talaga yan. Like, ang bandera, grabe. I mean, like, and
Yon.
that's really something.
I love that word, Tatak Pinoy, Dr. Irene. Now, since we just celebrated the World Teachers Month last month, that was October. Yes, that was October. And let me ask Dr. Donald Dongog, can you please tell us more about the artifacts that we have mentioned here a while ago. Dr. Donald, describe the artifacts or the results of student learning. I know you have lots of that.
Yes, thank you very much for the question, Sir Glenny. What I can recall and really um, have the experience where the students can represent their country in a world arena. I want my students to be globally competitive, in that way that would not make the student like give them the dream that they wanted to go and lead them there, and don't settle for less. Um, I always encourage my students to do better every day. So if
Mm-hmm.
you have done reading or maybe one page, maybe you can do 2 pages every day, three pages the next day, and so on. Don't settle for less. My
Mm-hmm.
students, we've been participating the Philippine Robotics Olympiad, and we have participated in the World Robot Olympiad in 12 countries. And the every batch of students that I bring to those kinds of competition, um, their grit would be developed, and staying and trying to uh, give up is would be erased, and that is something that I could be proud of. All of my
Wow.
students were having that kind of dream to really believe on their potential and cling on to that grit, that to say no and never give up, and they would reach the dream that they desire. And representing the country is one of that, and that is something that I could give as an artifact as a result for the students to think globally. Thank you, Sir Glenny.
Thank you so much. Very inspiring artifacts that you have shared to us this evening, our dear panelists. So what I hear you all saying is that from the start, you have shared to us the tools, the different tech tools. And after that, thank you so much also for sharing to us how you made it as a project. And this time you have mentioned the results, the artifacts. And of course, this time our audience are wanted to ask questions from our dear panelists. Thank you so much, our dear panelists, for sharing your teaching with technology best practices. Now we have already something to benchmark with our teaching pedagogy here in the Philippines, of course. And let's take a few minutes and hear a few questions our dear audience may ask to our dear panelists. Please raise your virtual hand if you have any question for our panelists this evening. Anyone from our audience? All right. Can I see a virtual hand? All right. So from what they have shared to us this evening, it's a very rich experiences, very rich expert practices, teaching with technology, very productive and inspiring people, teachers, very inspiring educators. Maybe you want to ask something from our dear panelists. Anyone wants to raise their hand? Yes, I see your hand. President Toastmaster Madge or Mark Anthony Hamisal, for your question for our dear panelists. And please address, yes.
Thank you, Tim, Glenny. I think we're all at O and again, very proud of our teachers abroad, their achievements and the best practices that was shared earlier. And I was actually imagining this question. I know it sometimes somehow we're feeling that sana we do have also that kind of support and that we can implement that as well. My question would be, if it's up to you if you're going to answer, if you have the opportunity, because you know that it's more of a political will, if you had the opportunity to talk to our vice president and the secretary of the Department of Education, what would you think would be the urgent or the priority in terms of the, now that we're doing face to face and still there are schools who are implementing blended. So what do you think can be your project or suggestion for the Department of Education?
All right, thank you so much, President Toastmaster Mark Anthony Hamisal, for that question. So the question is, I will repeat it again. So what do you think, dear panelists, is the appropriate project for the time being that we have right now, implementing hybrid, blended, and face-to-face instruction in our classroom this school year 2022-2023. So I think Miss Irene, this is your field. I'm sorry, Dr. Donald, Donald, this is your field. Would you care to share your thoughts?
Thank you very much, Sir Glenny. That is a Miss Universe question, or Mr. Universe for me. Thank you very much, TMR, for asking that. Yes, if I have the chance to talk to our Vice President and Secretary of Education, I would say equipped. Why equipped? Because if you are a cook, a chef in the restaurant, you have to have the right ingredients for you to make a good meal. In the same way as in education, you equip the students, number one, with the right learning materials. One book for each child. I hope it would be answered for so long. We develop our own materials. We give that material to students. I hope it would be a book. And if it's not a book, then it would be an e-book or whatever that is that the students could bring home and learn with their fathers and mothers and even their ates and kuyas. When you have equipped, and that kind of stage would be leveled up, and equip them with the right tools of technology. And I am so honored and privileged to know and even congratulate DepEd for having the DepEd computerization program. And they have already given tablets and computers to each one of the schools, aiming to have one computer is to one student. But let us also take note that what the students have could be used and tapped not only to collect their cell phones so that they cannot cheat, but maybe perhaps we would allow them to use the technology that we have now to learn. Schools must be the first one to innovate and give the right tools, the right direction, the right motivation for the students to learn. And thirdly, don't let the students stop dreaming. It is when you let the students stop dreaming that they stop innovating, stop growing. Don't let them be inside a box. Break the box and soar high. And keep the standard not only locally, not only nationally, but globally. If you equip, if you provide the right tools, the right
Wow.
knowledge, the right training, and let them dream again, then maybe we could reach that and tap the potential of our students to its maximum level so that they could be a better citizen of our country. Para sa bata, para sa bayan.
Wow, that's great. That's wonderful.
Would I
And I
have
think
now a an audience or vice president? Ready na ba tayo?
all right. So I think
Ulat
we
natin yan, Sir
yes.
Glenny.
Yes, so we are Vice President for Education. If you're talking about the Vice President of Education, yes, you're talking about Dr. Robilin Pastrano, Dr. Donald Dongog about the implementation of that box. Yes, precisely and wonderfully. We're so eager to implement that in our country as one of the projects to intervene the education crisis right now, happening right now in our educational system or in our education nowadays. Now, this time, I think we can still, looks like we have time for just one more question. Anyone?
I would like to answer because I'm
All right.
excited to answer
All right. Okay. Let's hear more.
question.
Go ahead.
Because like
Let's hear
right
more
away
from
when
Dr.
he asked
Irene.
me that question, I was selfish. I was thinking I want to be able to promote science and math because that's where my heart is. But honestly, when I got the chance to be able to think about it more, then I was like thinking about for all teachers, not necessarily the ones that are just teaching science and math. You know what I could really say to Vice President as well as the Secretary for Education, don't reinvent the wheel, period, right? Come on. There are a lot of wonderful programs, wonderful projects. Why do we need to always rebrand, rename, so that we place our name right there? If it works, let it work, and then we would assess, or like, let us try to take a look at it and see, because like that's the thing that I would see oftentimes after the 6-year term of whoever sits in government. That's why you were saying like it might be political, or it has something to do with politics. And that's the thing. How I hope that since we are in education, that we can have that stand. And we always say, oh, I want to have like, academic freedom. Can we not have that one as well in governance, in government as well? Academic freedom for the Department of Education, so that if there's something that works and it works well, let us not reinvent the wheel. Let us make the wheel continue to turn and bring us somewhere. And if we would like to do something with that wheel because we have the grit, let us innovate the wheel, not reinvent it. Yes, send the recording. Very well said, Dr. Pastran. I was thinking about that one as well. Thank you so much.
All right, so that's very gritty answers from our dear panelists. And this time, as since we are also out of time, I would like let us hear closing statements from our dear panelists. Let's start with since you have started it, Dr. Donald Donald. Can we hear some closing statements for our topic this evening on teaching with technology?
Yes, thank you, Sir Glenny. Yes, teaching with technology is a hope, a start, and a new brand for students to be at par with the world and be ready for the world of work and for the world of business that they could start. Let's impart to our students the seed of excellence and to don't let it stop until their good will be better and their better be best. I hope that we would encourage our students to do better every day with technology and with the teachers whose heart and passion and grit surpasses all the challenges in the world. Thank you, Sir Glenn.
All right, so let's hear from Dr. Irene Lopez.
I would just like to say, hold on and nourish that grittiness that you have right now, because with that, you will become great, great teachers. Mabuhay kayo, all teachers in the Philippines. Thank you so much.
All right, so indeed, thank you so much, our dear panelists. Indeed, technology can be used as a tool for good as we fight for global unity. With the help of technology and the power of educators, we can inspire the next generation of students to be extraordinary change makers. So everyone has to be equipped with what makes every person human: critical thinking skills, effective communication, the ability to relate one discipline to another. These are the characteristics that distinguish humans from machines or animals. These are the skills that form the foundation not only for the occupation or profession chosen by each one, but for lifelong learning, which is even more vital today because of the vertiginous change in knowledge and technology in the so-called Industrial Revolution 4.0. Thank you so much for your participation in today's discussion, especially to our dear panelists who wholeheartedly give their time, effort, and expertise despite the odds like time difference, busy schedule, family, and rest time, just to be with us and be part of our Toastmasters journey. Personally, I am wholeheartedly thankful to our inspiring panelists, my mentors and buddies, Sir Donald, Dr. Donald Donald, Dr. Irene Lopez. God bless you, and to God be the glory. You may reach our panelists for further questions in their social media accounts or email them in their email addresses. If you want to invite them in your school, division, or region, as resource speakers with regards to this topic. Back to you, our Toastmaster of the evening, Toastmaster Lorna.
Thank you. Congratulations, TM Glenny, for your advocacy and teaching with technology. And also, thank you to our panelists, Dr. Donald Dongog and Dr. Irene Lopez, for sharing your expertise, your experiences from other country, even if you're not here in the Philippines, but still your heart is with us. So we are very excited for that innovation, especially the box, and of course the SMED with Dr. Irene. So thank you so much. Indeed, it was a great panel discussion. And again, congratulations, TM Glenny. And to continue with our meeting for tonight,